Getting on the New Orleans Pelicans. That is right. A New Orleans Pelicans team who are 19 and 43. Another game for the Lakers to try to stack wins and climb up in the Western Conference standings. And of course, you already know the news. Zion Williamson was supposedly on the injury report. He goes on with Malika Andrews, ESPN Malika Andrews, and says that he is going to be playing tonight against the Los Angeles Lakers. Once again, it's always funny to me how when people and guys who are injured, they have legitimate injuries, and as soon as they get lined up to play against the Los Angeles Lakers, all of a sudden the injuries are cured. But I'm not going to lie to you guys. There's no need to necessarily talk a lot about this game tonight against the New Orleans Pelicans. I know they got Herb Jones, they got Trey Murphy III, and if Zion Williamson plays, it's a legit team that can go out there and get a W against the Los Angeles Lakers. And they got DeJounte Murray back, Jordan Poole come off the bench. They got a rising star in Derek Queen. They got some guys on this New Orleans Pelicans team. This ain't the Sacramento Kings. This is not a banged-up Warriors team. The Pelicans are going to give this Lakers team a good game if the Lakers do not come to play right from the jump. But I do want to dive in because I didn't get a chance to talk to you guys about Draymond Green's comments in regards to the let me phrase this the right way. Former Dallas Mavericks GM Nico Harrison, he has some strong words in regards to his thoughts on the Luka Doncic trade and why he doesn't understand why the media has a double standard to Nico Harrison. And then, of course, I got to get my input on Luka Doncic and possibly the duo of him and Austin Reeves for the foreseeable future. But before we do any of that, it's going to be a good one. Got to talk about my friends at Pechanga Resort Casino. And you can play a perfect combination at Pechanga Resort Casino, the official Native American resort and casino, the Los Angeles Lakers. Skip the traffic. Head on over to Pechanga Resort Casino just off the I-15 in Temecula. Visit pechanga.com or call 888-PECHANGA for reservations and for more information. So, with Draymond Green, who is respected around the NBA, four-time champion, he's earned the right to kind of comment on majority of the things. And I know Draymond Green can get really, really frustrating on the basketball court and off the basketball court. However, seeing his comments on Nico Harrison and seeing him elaborate on the whole situation with him being fired from the Dallas Mavericks and then the media kind of taking more jabs at Nico Harrison and to why he still went ahead and got rid of Luka Doncic and why he made that trade and why the Dallas Mavericks didn't get even more of a return for Luka Doncic in that deal. Honestly, same goes for the Los Angeles Lakers. The fact that they still were able to keep Austin Reeves in that deal and only get rid of Anthony Davis and Max Christie, that says something in regards to how that deal was being orchestrated. But the reasons into why Nico Harrison traded Luka Doncic, as far as I understand, it's kind of regurgitating as far as he's fat, he's lazy, he's out of shape, he's not committed, he doesn't care as far as a play defense because Nico Harrison said that he wants to build a defensive-minded team, orchestrate this roster who was full of guys who are committed on that end of the basketball court. He did not see Luka Doncic being their foreseeable franchise player. Crazy, because Luka Doncic, as you look at it right now, top 5 in the NBA. Top 5 player in the NBA. Very, 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 very talented offensive player and is a generational talent. But there is some truth as far as Luka Doncic and his defense. There is some truth to that end of the basketball court. And that flaw in his game is that the desire, the willingness is sometimes not there at a consistent basis, which is okay. He exerts a lot of energy on the defensive end of the floor, and we keep on talking about it. In order to get the most out of Luka Doncic in his prime, you got to build the right team. You got to get 3-and-D athletic wings. You got to get three-point shooters, knockdown three-point shooters. Hell, and that's why they went ahead and got Luka, who is starting to look a little better through these past couple of games. We'll see if he can keep on getting a big role with his Lakers team. But that is the ideal roster you want to build around Luka Doncic. But Nico Harrison being fired, come on, man. There is a real reason into why he did get fired because that deal did not work on his end. And I know Draymond Green made some more comments in regards to we never seen the Dallas Mavericks at full strength. Injuries took a toll on them, so we never got to see how that situation would have worked in Nico Harrison's favor. To be honest with you, there was no need to see that play out and see what the Mavericks would have been. Because guess what? As soon as Nico Harrison left, Anthony Davis, the injuries kept on piling up, and stacking up to now he's getting traded, or not he got traded to the Washington Wizards. He's paired up now with Trae Young. The Dallas Mavericks were able to get a guy in Cooper Flag, which they were lucky to land in a lottery and get a lottery draft pick to acquire him. So there's a lot of things that end up turning in Nico Harrison's favor. I understand the injury to Kyrie Irving. All that stuff happened. But once again, you have a superstar in Luka Doncic who recently took that team to the NBA Finals. That is something that you just cannot oversee. That is something that you cannot just brush to the side because you can talk all that mess as far as he's lazy, he's not committed to the defense end of the floor. He still led your team to the NBA Finals. But again, I understand he had a superstar in Kyrie Irving paired along with them. But that is something that we have to come to an understanding about. Now, as far as Luka Doncic's defense, there has been frustrating, especially him in his Lakers tenure, because I went on and I did videos. Because remember, he was playing in the Eurobasket and doing a lot of good stuff. He got in shape. Every single thing that we were hoping that Luka Doncic was getting ready to get ramped up for this season, he did. JJ Redick, after their first round exit last year, he had his exit interviews. He said, we need to get in championship level shape. Guys need to get in championship level shape. That is going to be something that we are going to get come the offseason and to start this season. And they did. Majority of those guys on the roster did. Could it be a jab at Luka? Possibly so. But it motivated him. He got his ass in shape. He lost a lot of weight. But the thing that kind of frustrates me is that we've seen the clips of him getting out in passing lanes, running the lanes, exerting a lot of energy on defense on the floor. Remember, offense is no question with them. One of the best players in the NBA to put the ball on the floor and get his own bucket. That is no question. But the worrisome is, can they get the most out of him on that end of the floor? And could it just be that Lakers don't really need him to play defense because they just want him to be a scorer and get the most out of that? Possibly so. Because that's what it's always been in his career in the NBA is that, look, man, we don't need you to be that good a defender. We just need to make sure that, you can get us 25 to 30 points a game. Make sure you move the rock in the pick and roll game. Find the open man. Exert all your energy on the offensive floor. But times have changed. And you want to know why times have changed? Is because we're going to look, once again, at the other teams in the Western Conference. And I'm not saying Luka Doncic is just this unwilling defender. It's possibly so that he just doesn't have the ability to keep guys in front. And I know some of it is energy. Some of it is effort. There's times where guys just blow right by him, and there's no fight back. There's no resistance. Same thing with Austin Reeves. Austin Reeves is a willing defender, but just doesn't have the strength, doesn't have the size. Now, there's certain scenarios and certain situations where it's unacceptable to be getting back down like that, all the way from the mid-range, all the way down to the paint. Those scenarios are frustrating, and that can happen. However, we keep on going back to it, is that this is going to be the biggest offseason for the Los Angeles Lakers. This is going to be the biggest thing as far as building the right team around Luka Doncic in his prime. We can go ahead and just act like most likely LeBron James is probably not going to be. This is just me just speculating. I have a feeling that he's going to be back in his Lakers team. I know you guys don't want to hear that because his options are really, really low as far as where he can go. He's going to have to take a pay cut. He's going to have to take a minimum, not I'm saying minimum contract, but he's going to have to take a pay cut, something that he has not been used to his whole entire career. But the real focus is going to be building the right team around Luka Doncic. So where I'm going at with this is that they're going to need him to not just have one possession of good defense. He's going to have to be able to stack up multiple possessions of good defense. And there's times when they are in their zone, he rotates correctly. It looks good. But when you run into a team who can exploit a lot of your pieces on that team, a lot of your flaws on this current roster, the defense from him, it grows even more. The light shines even more when he makes a lot of mental errors on that end of the basketball floor. And the Mavericks were able to get away with a lot of his flaws with Derrick Jones Jr., PJ Washington, Dante Exum, Derek Lively, Daniel Gafford. All those players that the Mavericks had, Kyrie Irving, hell, he's not the best defender. He is a willing defender. Same thing when we talk about Stephen Curry. Guys like that are willing defenders. But when you look at this Lakers team, and you got one of your better defenders in Marcus Smart, but he's on the kind of back end of his career. You're relying so much out of him that everyone else, they get exploited. Jared Vanderbilt can't stay on the basketball court. Because why? Offensively, he can't help you out. Defensively, Lakers can use a lot of Jared Vanderbilt's size, athleticism to get out in the passing lanes. But he can't stay on the floor because he hurts them on the offensive end of the basketball court. Now, the reason why his defense has been exploited even more is because what? Look who he is on the basketball court with. Rui Hachimura is not really a good perimeter defender. Austin Reeves is not a good perimeter defender. They're asking a lot of LeBron James at the age of 41 to be one of their better defenders. It's just not going to cut it. And we already know the story with DeAndre Ayton, because another thing we got to keep in mind is that when Luka Doncic, when he was getting blown by with Dallas, who was there to protect him? So the defense didn't really look as bad as it does with this Lakers team. So that's where I am getting at, is that, yes, solely on this and solely on Draymond Green's comments as far as he doesn't understand why the media has a double standard on Nico Harrison when, everyone's starting to grow frustration and get aggravated with Luka Doncic's antics and stuff like that. Look, man, the reason why everyone was very, very like, what is he doing? How could you trade a generation talent like that? Is because the Mavericks had a really good team. They were probably a couple more pieces away to be legit. Injuries took a big toll on that team. But you just gave up a player that you can build around. Because guess what? The method, the scheme was there. Now, it's always going to be up to the Lakers to do so. But I am going to say this. Luka does need to get better on the defensive end of the floor. He does need to exert more of that energy on that end of the basketball court instead of spending time bickering and talking to the referees. I get it. There was moments he needs that to have fuel to his game, add fire to his game, and go at a lot of other guys on the opposing team. But they can't have you miss out on coverages, miss out on assignments, blow defensive schemes. It can't work if this Lakers team, so we're talking about this season, if they want to have success going into the playoffs. Because I keep on looking back at that Minnesota Timberwolves series, and what did they do? Not only Rudy Gobert won them the game, they did every single thing to switch and get who on Anthony Edwards or Jaden McDaniels. They would switch, let's get Austin Reeves on them, go right by him, layup. So now you had two of those guys on the basketball court. I want to say unwilling defenders, but guys who can't really defend. It's going to be tough. And that's where the worry comes in for the future. Because honestly, I love Austin Reeves. I love how he's grown as an NBA player. And there's a reason why Rob Pelinka and his Lakers front office held on to Austin Reeves, because they saw something in him and his growth that has been very, very, very useful for this Lakers team. But every single person that we discuss, that we talk to, is that the only thing that is going to be worrisome when it comes to this offseason, if they do decide to extend Austin Reeves, is what is the rest of the roster going to look like? Because now you still have two guys who can't defend that well on the basketball court. So that contract extension is something that now, when I put a real deep perspective into it, is that Rob Pelinka And all of them, they better make sure, they damn sure better hope that they get some guys who are athletic, actual 3-and-D guys. When I say actual 3-and-D guys, guys who actually knock down the three-point ball. Guys who, if you want to switch on them, they're there to pick up the slack of them two on the basketball court. They looks good as far as net rating, with all those numbers, analytics. When Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves are paired up, they have a plus ratio. That looks good, but it doesn't look good on what side of the basketball court? Defense. Keep on looking at the Thunder. Keep on looking at the Spurs. Look at Minnesota. Hell, even look at Houston. Denver's got some guys who can defend. This Lakers team, that's where they need to get at. And I see you guys in the YouTube chat as far as Luka has better numbers than Ant. And as far as not playing Brian in the YouTube chat, not playing defense with this young NBA is crazy work. Yeah. 805 Chargers. Look how Dallas has been since Kyrie Irving went down. Luka has 0 final appearances without Kyrie Irving. And that just goes to show you that you got to build the right team. So as far as Draymond Green's comments, let me put a conclusion to this. He is wrong. What Nico Harrison did, it did not work. It did not work. Anthony Davis couldn't stay healthy. That's been the same storyline with him with this Lakers team. He couldn't stay healthy. He has all the talent in the world, couldn't stay healthy. And what's the number one thing when it comes to professional sports? Availability is one of the main things. He couldn't do that. Kyrie Irving, out for the remainder of the season. Torn ACL. We understand. Circumstances happen. But it did not work in his favor. That trade did not work on the Maverick side. It worked for the Lakers because Lakers are not entered this season where they were very limited. They couldn't get the right pieces around, which is fine. Because then you can, I'm not going to say look ahead. You still got to compete. You still got to play for this season. But guess what? Lakers have a good amount of room in cap space this offseason to do what? And I know you guys get tired of hearing it, building the right team, but it is true. There is a reason why the cap space is there for the Lakers to get the necessary pieces to start building the proper plan. But let's kind of slow down a little bit because I got some stuff as far as the duo between Luka and Austin Reeves. And if this is going to really work out for the foreseeable future, is this the two that you want to build a championship team around? We'll talk about that. Let me take a little break and let my partners at Pachanga give you guys a quick word.
At Pachanga Resort Casino, you can rock and roll, sip and slide, twist and shout. Play your perfect combination at Pachanga Resort Casino, official Indian gaming sponsor of the Lakers.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome to Lakers Talk Daily. As always, the Lakers are taking on the New Orleans Pelicans. Just honestly, if they go out there, I'm doing it again, y'all. I'm doing it again. I'm not gonna say it. If they don't go out here and compete and beat the New Orleans Pelicans, they're going to be into some trouble. Well, how about this? Just go out there and compete. Have energy and effort right from the start. Don't let a Pelicans team who is 19-43 hang around. I get it. You beat the Golden State Warriors, you keep the Sacramento Kings, keep the momentum rolling. Please. I should not be coming on Lakers Talk Daily and being like, well, the Lakers just lost to a 19-43 New Orleans Pelicans team. That should not be the case. If you're the Lakers, you want to be taken real serious for the second half of the season. Now, with Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves, I know a lot of people, especially you guys in the YouTube chat, saying, and I know who's in there, Peter Acevedo, talking about, I don't want to pay Austin Reeves that much money. He's not that good of a defender. Austin Reeves can't help out the Lakers. I don't really see them building a championship team around him and Luka Doncic. Now, I got a little counter to that. And to help me with this counter, and he might have some words as well, I got my guy Parker Bell, who you guys already know. He's going to be joining me right now. Parker Bell, what is going on, my guy?
How we doing? I'm happy to be here again. I'm on my way out, and now you're out here using me as much as you can. I think that's that's a fun way to go out. I'd say so.
I need to, man, because you're a ball knower. You're part of that chain of ball knowers. Now I got to pick your brain a little bit. That's right. I got to see where your head is at. But to kind of backtrack. I know you kind of missed a little bit of the first half of the episode as far as the Nico Harrison thing and Draymond Green's comments. As far as he didn't understand why the media has a double standard on Nico Harrison. Point blank, all I gotta say is I hear what Draymond Green saying, but Nico Harrison, as far as that trade, did not go well. It did not work out in his favor. The plan, it seemed good as far as acquiring Anthony Davis and building defensive-minded pieces around him. And you got Kyrie Irving, but unfortunately he went out with an injury. And I understand they got Cooper Flag in the lottery. They're going to start building that process to build the team around him. He's going to be a rising star. But ultimately, what they did in that trade, as who the Lakers were able to get and who they're able to keep, is still mind-blowing to this day. So that's why the media has a double standard, because Luka Doncic, first and foremost, is younger than Anthony Davis. Yep. He's already proven that he could take a team to the finals if you put the right team around him, which the Lakers are going to have that plan. So Draymond Green saying that, there is a reason why the media is having all these standards when it comes to Nico Harrison. He got fired for a reason. Hell, they even had to move on from Anthony Davis already. Yeah. I don't even think he played more than 35 games in a Dallas Mavericks uniform. He's with the Washington Wizards now. That says a lot.
Well, and what it does is say less about, AD. We've known what AD was and has been most of his career. And obviously we wish AD success in his career. He is a great guy and he led the Lakers to a championship. But yeah, it says more about Nico and the fact that you already had a winning organization. You had a finals you were there. And I get it. Luka's defense became glaring, and that's what really made those conversations happen. He was probably pressured, and he thought to himself, okay, well, the best defensive guy I could build around is AD. Building around players, and that's the conversation we've been having kind of this whole episode as I was checking in, it's more complicated and more nuanced than that. Like, if you were already there, don't break it. Just tweak some things, and Luka and that new supporting cast could have probably gone again. Even in a competitive West. I know there's been different finals opponents every single year pretty much at this point. They could have done it again. And that's what the Lakers really did in 2020. You had a winning – now, we're not comparing, GMs to GMs here. I'm just saying, like, team-wise, you had a team that was there, and then, boom, you switch things up and look what happens. So things switched up, and to the Lakers' favor, it's there. But, yeah, I know we got to have a conversation more about, like, this future of where do the Lakers go with that team they've built. And I mean, obviously this team right now, you can't even really say that's what they've built because they haven't had a chance, an opportunity to build. When you get a massive trade like that thrown onto your table, you just then got to work around the margins, as we always say. Rob was like, well, bleep, I got the greatest player, one of, greatest European players, whatever you want to call him. How do I build a team this quickly? You're not going to. It's going to take about a year. And here we are, about a year plus.
Exactly. And so going into thinking about this, as far as the biggest storyline is, okay, Luka Doncic, can he be a leader? But also, can he be a leader and can he be someone paired along with Austin Reeves and actually be like legit pieces to build around and build a real contending championship team for the foreseeable future? Because if you go into the offseason and you don't get the right pieces and you don't get the necessary guys, and you have another season that's kind of like this, it's like they're not bad, but they're not great. They're in that in-between mode. That's going to be more voices raised. And honestly, as far as the build around Luka Doncic, and they're going to give Austin Reeves, most likely, I have a 75% chance that he's going to be back in a Lakers uniform. You still have two guys who can't really defend. And I mean, seeing all the reports as far as Austin Reeves and how much he's going to make, and as far as the $35 to $40 million range, that is a lot of money for a guy who does another, again, similar play style, similar things that they like to do. They like to get in a pick and roll game, they like to get guys off the dribble, like the mismatch. They like to do stuff like that. But you have two of those on the basketball court, and the difference between Kyrie Irving is that one of the elite scorers, but can you really say that Kyrie Irving was a bad defender? Like, there's not much reports of him being a bad defender. He was actually a willing defender, and he had moments where he did keep guys in front. Yeah. There's too many film that we see with Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves when they're on the court together. It looks good offensively, but defensively, it's not good, man.
Yeah, so there's the next level to the Austin Reeves conversation, correct? I think we've basically confirmed at this point, when healthy, he's an all-star level offensive player. And that could be a yearly reoccurring thing because he just has that much skill. The fact that he's gone from undrafted to the type of player he is and that well respected in the league is one thing, but that's the next step. Can you be the willing defender? Obviously, you're never going to have those unteachable things like some of the athleticism that other 3-and-D type players have. But that's where that conversation of, okay, then we'll build it around that. But this here conversation that you and I are having is more about, I think it's a perfect comparison when it comes to Luka, Kyrie. Like, how does a molded player like Luka make it to the finals with somebody who also has similar attributes as him? The thing is, you just can't have that third, and that I think is what's been glaring this season. I believe that yes, Luka and Austin can do it. A bad comparison in terms of style of play, but similar vibes would be the whole building around Tatum, building cornerstones around Tatum, and who did they go get? Another ball-dominant player. Granted, Jaylen Brown at times can be a great defender, all-pro type defender. Not all the time.
Yeah.
It's about the willingness to, but he can be in terms of athleticism. But building around somebody who wasn't as great a defender in Tatum, and then you got another ball-dominant guy. Can two ball-dominant guys work? The answer is yes, clearly. They've made it and won a final. But the thing is, you can't have a third party that's making things a little tricky. So I would argue that the answer is yes, DeAndre. It's all about the supplementary and the ancillary pieces you put around them too. But in terms of having two all-star level offensive players, yeah, that will make you a contender immediately.
No, for sure. And I hear you. And I like that you brought that up because that same Celtics team is the same team they beat the Dallas Mavericks.
Exactly.
And you have two all-stars like that as far as Jaylen Brown, you had Jason Tatum, but you keep on going down the list. They had Derek White,
yep.
Drew Holiday, like two really good defenders.
Solid rim protectors. Horford was still a solid defender.
Exactly, man. And so then, of course, like the styles, the Boston Celtics, how they played, they like to, get them up as far as the 3-point ball. But you can say that their defenders and the way their scheme was, it was over glaring that they were going to beat the Dallas Mavericks in that final series. So I'm glad you brought that up. And there's some people in the YouTube chat who kind of, were saying, because you brought up as far as the Lakers, the 2020 team and how, sometimes you don't really tweak much. And someone in the YouTube chat said, this is 36 Morgan said, that's what Rob did in 2020, dismantled a championship team. Do you really think Rob can be trusted? And he didn't. Would you really say he dismantled that whole team, though?
So here's that. Well, we know what happened there. We have like a solidified answer, and it was a Westbrook situation.
Mm-hmm.
What we know is that one, maybe that team. I get it. The vibes were great, and what they caught was something that teams hardly ever catch. That type of just pure chemistry that honestly, every time they stepped on the floor, whether they were on paper better or not, they were just going to beat you because they were having way more fun. And it worked out that season. But you could make the argument that, like, would they have come back and had as good of a record as they did before the bubble? Maybe not. I mean, you're still relying on, an asthma-ridden JaVale McGee who, like, not long after that, DNPs and then had to go to Europe. Like, literally not long. It was, like, within a year, he wasn't playing on rosters. Similar to Dwight Howard. I mean, they caught a very singular run that worked out really well. Shout out to them for doing so. But that argument it's a little too tough to make. I think Rob was working with what was given to him in terms of direction. And again, this is just based off of our opinions, but I feel that it was more of an organizational, hey, let's treat our stars correctly. AKA, let's help LeBron be happy so that we can prove to other superstars, because this is the Laker way. We prove to superstars. Lakers prove to superstars that they take care of them.
Yep.
That was, in a sense, a way of taking care of LeBron and whatever other, not just LeBron, but whatever other superstar wants to come. Because at that time, Westbrook still considered a star.
See, look, man, and that's another thing is that everyone has that scenario that you bring in an all-star that essentially your team just gets automatically better. No, because Austin Reeves was a rising all-star. He's not a superstar, but he was a rising all-star because he's seen his game evolve. You see it start to get better. You see him get a lot better as far as getting the guys off the dribble and stuff like that. Defense is another thing. And And I just feel like it all just comes down to like who is going to be around them if you do decide to keep that duo. And that is going to be the ultimate thing as far as
Well,
can you
just quickly, D, I mean, just to kind of like bring home my argument that they are at the time before Austin got hurt, like the top duo in the league. They were already the top duo. Take LeBron out. They were combining for nearly 60 a game with like 17 or so assists. And I think if you add those assists, they were probably solid for about 100 points of the Lakers offense a night. No other duos doing that with a select few. So yes, they can do it, but I think, this is the conversations that we're seeing in the chat. B. Cush with Luka in Dallas, he was okay because they were able to hide his defense. You've been talking about this all episode. They had guys who can really solidify that defense in the back behind him, and now you got guys like LeBron, Ayton, and AR trying to hide the defense. Shout out to B. Cush for that comment.
Yeah.
It's just not going to work. But the conversation between the duo isn't where the conversation needs to be had because, those white boys can ball, and they are definitely contenders. Just them. You put those two on a different team, I'd say they're top 3 seed in either conference.
Yeah, and it's crazy because you can't hide them, and that's why Luka Doncic's even his defense, especially Austin Reeves, it gets shown even more, put on film. You can really get a real breakdown and see why their defense gets exploited because look at their back line of defenses. LeBron James, he gets caught sometimes in a situation where he's ball watching and guys gets wide open. Look, perfect example is down the stretch with that Desmond Bane 3. LeBron James got caught ball watching. Yes. The Magic did a good job, kick out Bane. They took the lead. And then Deondre Ayton, once again, you already know the storyline with him. We don't have to keep on continuing that cycle. Rui, he had that one, and I'm to this day, I'm still big on Rui Hachimura because he has a size. He has a skill set to be a really good, serviceable role player. It's just when the team is full of guys who can't defend, it makes it hard to really see the positives of this team.
Okay, so I'll send you this question, and whether we just kind of sit on it and think about it for the day, I think we could give our thoughts, so we still have time. Can the Lakers, focusing just solely on this year, can the Lakers just buy in? So we've had conversations, I think even Sedano was talking about it this morning. LeBron, throughout his career, has been known, yes, I'm not really going to play full hard defense in the regular season. He's obviously not admitting to that, but it's clear as day. And then he'll go into the playoffs and he'll find a little bit of buy-in and situational buy-in to where he can go to that elite level defense.
Okay.
Can we see that with an Austin and Luka? And I would argue, unfortunately, and the Ruiz and the, Marcus Smarts, I would argue that this roster, my opinion, no. Because Austin's already shown us when he had to elevate his game to lead the offense, he puttered out on the defensive end when they get swept, right? I think when the
4-1. Against the Timberwolves,
And he put all that effort against the rest of the playoffs before that, the Grizzlies and everything, and then boom, he was like a shell of himself. It was disgusting. And then we saw that with Luka in the finals. So they have a track record of they can't find that buy-in, which to me is unfortunate. But if you have a different opinion, I'd be curious.
I don't have a different opinion only because, like to your point, we've seen what the Timberwolves did to them, and we talk about they can flip a switch and they can get things corrected. But there's only a certain amount of games to where you really can figure out what needs to be done as far as a team goal, as far as team perspective, team scheme that you can actually implement to where the Lakers can get better as far as that whole on the defensive end of the floor. As far as the offensive end, there's no worries with them. The only thing that does get worried for me is that when their offense gets into a hole and they can't score and the three-point ball is not falling, and they're not going to get the same whistles when it comes into the playoffs. Remember, Luka Doncic is damn near averaging 10 free throws a game. Austin Reeves is up there as well. LeBron James especially. But when it comes to playoff time and that whistle gets tight and they're letting guys play, that's another thing we got to take in consideration. I don't think they can just flip a switch, come in the playoffs, and all of a sudden they're, can they be better defensively in certain moments? Yes. The 2-3 zone or the matchup zone that they try to implement, does it work? It does in spurts, but we see it when there's a team like the Boston Celtics and you try to run a zone like that, because there's teams like that in the Western Conference who have a similar play style. When you run into a team like that whose bread and butter is catch and shoot threes, you can't run a zone. So then you're be forced to play man, you get exploited. So this Lakers team, they try to have counters. JJ Redick tries to throw these other things.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, when it comes into the playoffs, especially in a 7-game series, asking LeBron James to exert all that energy at age 41 is going to be a lot. Asking Luka Doncic to get the most out of that defensive end of the floor is going to be a lot to ask. And it Austin Reeves as well.
Yeah.
The Timberwolves, teams like that, they're going to do a great job as far as getting the mismatch and exploiting that.
I'll say this, before we head out. It's just so layered because while we are kind of, being very critical of the defensive side for Luka and Austin, I will say that I think that both have it in them to quote unquote flip that switch. I've seen the competitiveness in Austin. I've seen it in Luka. I've seen Luka put up good defense in the Slovenian national team. # skinny Luka. He had like 3 steals a game essentially. The thing is though, if you're going to flip the switch on one end, for those types of players who are so offensive focused, the offense goes away, and you need Luka's offense to win. So it's a real catch-22. Austin may need to look himself in the mirror and say, okay, if we want to win and buy in as a team, I have to really shut down on the offensive end. Hope that guys like Luke Kennard step up. Hope that guys like LeBron can be a little more offensive when it comes to three-point percentage, or Rui. And he has to really step up and look himself in the mirror and say, all my efforts going towards just being physical. Obviously you're going to be a little outsized from some of the wings, but if you're physical, let's just put them against a team that they might play in the playoffs, Timberwolves or something. Awesome. Okay, then you're putting all your damn effort into just being as physical as you can against Ant, or as physical as you can against Jaden McDaniels. I get they're going to score on you a few times, but if you're physical, the Lakers could have a chance, and that's what it's about, man.
We'll see. We'll see. Shout out to Brian in the YouTube chat saying that Austin Reeves can be like Lemon Pepper Lou or Jamal Crawford. Hey, look, if he was willing to be in that 6-man role, but the Lakers are trying not to Rui Hachimura experience, which it hasn't really played into their favor. It looked good first couple of games, but we'll see. But this is a good conversation. This is something that you guys can react on. You guys can carry this over to the DeMarco and Travis Afternoon Show. Mason Iron's going to come up next. Parker Bell, as always, as the countdown continues as far as your days winding down. God, man. Hopefully get to catch you one more time on Lakers Talk Daily before you leave, man.
Would love to.
All right, but for myself, my guy Parker Bell, my guy Tim back there and the social team, and you guys in the YouTube chat, very, very grateful and appreciate you guys tuning in. Lakers are taking on the New Orleans Pelicans tonight. A 19-43 New Orleans Pelicans team. Disgusting. The Lakers need to go out there and get that W. But I'll be talking to you guys tomorrow, and we are out.